Well, Michalis, kia ora, welcome to New Zealand. Thank you very much indeed for sparing time for us. We're a long way from Europe. Is the Asia-Pacific region particularly important to Europe?
Absolutely, yes. Just only 1 month ago, we adopted a new policy document for the Pacific, which it shows Europe's attention to the Pacific Islands and to the region. It is a very comprehensive document. It is not a traditional donor to aid recipient document, but it covers many, many issues such as climate change, such political issues, and really it shows that the EU, despite a lot of people think that it's a time where it tries to get its house in order because of the financial crisis and the euro crisis, that is extremely active in the international field. And this is a document that we are going to discuss also with New Zealand in 2 weeks' time here with the Foreign Minister Michalis in what we call the EU ministerial meeting with the Pacific Island Forum.
Why is Europe so interested in an area that does seem such a long way away? Is it a trade thing?
Well, huge economic, political, security interests. I mean, the Asia-Pacific, it is an area where we have a huge EU investments, but also it is crucial to our prosperity because of security aspects that they are done. Of course, I have been posted in Hong Kong and I have been dealing for many, many years for political relations with China. And also we see that there is a lot of efforts for regional integration, like the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, whether this is trade and economic integration. There are also the East Asia Summit meetings, and the EU has huge political, economic, trade, security interests in the region.
I suppose New Zealand, of course, is very much concentrating on Southeast Asia as a trade partner. Do you see New Zealand's links with Europe perhaps weakening in favour of Asia?
Well, so it seems, but I wouldn't say that this it is something that you know, a very strong statement. It is normal that New Zealand is trying to secure its future and its economic future, and of course it pursues very active trade policies and FTA policies across the region.
The picture we get here in New Zealand is that Europe is heading for disaster. The Eurozone is going to break up. That will precipitate another financial crisis around the world. What's it actually like in Europe?
I have noticed that. I have only arrived 4 months ago, but I see the public opinion in New Zealand is very much influenced by New Zealand's press. And I have to say that a lot of your news are coming from articles directly from the UK. And we know that in the UK there is a tendency of thinking, I mean, of a Eurosceptic thinking, which it is not always, I would say, and that I'm not saying to justify my payroll as an EU official, but it is not always, I would say, very accurate. It is true that there are some serious problems, but it is not true that doomsday has arrived. And I would say that there is a strategy of exiting the crisis. This is a strategy that we adopted, the EU institutions that I have the honor to represent here in New Zealand, adopted some time ago. It's called Europe 2020 strategy. It has been approved by all 27 EU member states, and it foresees three tiers of issues. First of all, stabilizing the economy, then do the necessary structural reforms, and then third, try to give the impetus where it is necessary, mobilizing private investment in areas where Europe has its own competitive edge, meaning science and innovation, green economies, education. The only way forward it is if we try to find the best possible way, and I'm pretty sure in the European Council in June, leaders will make an impressive step forward, hoping, of course, also that the elections in Greece on the 17th of June also will, the Greek people, they will send a message to Europe that they are willing, to go ahead with these necessary reforms.
Again, the reports we hear as that the Greek people are fed up with having cuts imposed on them by Europe, but there seems to be no alternative for them. And there seems to be, with the election coming up, the parties that look like they could control Greece are parties that are saying, well, we don't want the austerity cuts. How's that going to play out, do you think?
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's no doubt that the elections in Greece, they're going to be the most crucial, I would say, after the dictatorship. And I would say even after the war. There is an important choice to be made. The Greek people already a few weeks ago gave a strong message, especially to the mainstream parties that have been governing Greece since ever, I would say. And of course, they held them responsible for allowing, a state in such a condition. However, that said, the choice, it is either what we have been trying to convince the Greek people from the European institutions that there is a way out. There's no way out without stress, without pain. But it is there, and it can happen within few years by mobilizing sources in Greece where Greece has an edge, a competitive edge, by redressing public finances, by doing the absolutely necessary reforms, structural reforms. And then the other choices of not willing to do so, but the alternative, it is disastrous. The National Bank of Greece published a report a few days ago which proves that Greece out of the euro would have dramatic consequences. The unemployment will go up to 34%. The living standards would drop by 55%. The devaluation of the drachma it would be up to 70%. And the GDP per capita, that's now 20,000 euros, will drop down to 9. And this is the huge challenge. Europe has been very generous, and it is even more generous because there are already a package of 40 billion euros from the European Commission to mobilize the structural funds that we call, which are the ones that try to address disparities in Europe, for projects only for Greece.
Just finally, I mean, you've been here a few months. How do you see the relationship between Europe and New Zealand progressing?
Well, positively. I have to say that I have discovered that the state of the bilateral relations is extremely healthy. I told you just before that we're about to launch the negotiations for a framework agreement, which is going to further upgrade the state of the relationship. We are actively cooperating on the Pacific. We have, in 10 days' time here, I will be back in Auckland for the EU Ministerial with Foreign Minister Michalis, and we are going to discuss how we can find common synergies and to see how we can cooperate better for the benefit of the islanders. We have seen unprecedented level of visits to New Zealand from the EU. I had already 6 official visits in 4 months, and there are 3 or more to come. Until the end of August. We talk again about the Pacific Island Forum, and Prime Minister Key now is heading to Europe, and he will spend also a day in Brussels as well, where he's going to meet the President of the European Parliament, among others. And I think traditional friendships are what are needed at most at a time where this world that we are living in quite volatile, and New Zealand and EU, I think they're feeling that, whether it is for the economic crisis or about the global challenges that we're facing. And also we are going now, important delegations they are heading to Rio for the Rio +20 to talk about climate change. So again, I mean, this is an issue that we discuss and exchange very much with our New Zealand counterparts, and we're trying, to forge alliances. And so I would say, yeah, pretty healthy, and that also makes, but since the challenges are manifold, that makes my job extremely interesting.
Well, it's been great to meet you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you so much.